Transforming Lives, Learning for Lifelong Knowledge and Improvement. Video 6, Choosing ILOs, Creating PLOs and CLOs for CLO, PLO, ILO alignment. Hello, welcome back to the Transforming Lives video series. Now that we have a handle on learning, outcomes, and backwards design, let's begin looking closely at the ILOs and at creating PLOs and CLOs that align at all three outcome levels. We'll start by reviewing the ILOs. Here they are. Aesthetic awareness, communication, critical thinking, cultural awareness and humility, information and technology literacy, responsibility, scientific awareness, social awareness. Which ILOs best fit your discipline? Which of these naturally connect with your discipline? Which competencies and literacies naturally or need to develop as students learn your discipline? Note that we don't need to align with every ILO. We just need to use those ILOs that best fit our discipline. Let's look at a couple of examples. ILOs for mathematics. Critical thinking and communication are currently being used. As presented in video 5, responsibility could also function as an ILO. If you want to see which ILOs are currently being employed by your discipline, enter Ellumen and view the CLO to ILO curriculum map. After entering Ellumen, choose the role Department Coordinator and then your discipline. For this example, we'll choose Math. Then select SLOs and Assessments. Next, select the curriculum map. Now choose Core ILOs. The ILOs are across the top row. CLOs are down the left-hand side. Scroll down to the mappings that connect each CLO to its ILO. You will see lots of green check marks where the ILO's critical thinking and communication connect or align with the CLOs from the courses. For example, for Math 115, the CLO 1 aligns with the ILO communication. What about English? They are currently using the ILO's aesthetic awareness, communication, critical thinking, and information technology and literacy. For English, you will see lots of green check marks where the ILO's critical thinking, communication, aesthetic awareness, and information technology map to their courses. Notice that each green check mark indicates alignment between the CLO in that row and the ILO in that column. Note that neither Math nor English are aligning with all the ILOs. Math is aligning with 2 of the 8 and English with 4 of the 8. Obviously, that means English is twice as good for students as Math. For your discipline, just align with the ILOs that naturally or need to develop as students learn your discipline. If your department believes the current ILOs are the right ones, stick with them. If you want to make changes to your current ILOs, do that. If you aren't sure, contact me and we will discuss. At this point, we will choose an ILO to continue. We will use Math as our example discipline. For this example, we will choose the ILO critical thinking for Math. Now we need to create some PLOs for the critical thinking ILO. As we saw in videos 4 and 5, the PLOs need to be sub-goals of the ILOs. The following prompts were used. What should students be like or look like when they leave your course, program, or pathway? What wouldn't students get that they need if your courses were no longer part of a given award or pathway? Also, what did students lack that they needed when they entered your course, program, or pathway? If you've already thought about this, you may have outcome statements you'd like to use. If not, consider the habits of mind. Persisting, managing impulsivity, listening with understanding and empathy, thinking flexibly, thinking about thinking or metacognition, striving for accuracy, questioning and posing problems, applying past knowledge to new situations, thinking and communicating with clarity and precision, gathering data through all senses, creating, imagining, innovating, responding with wonderment and awe, taking responsible risks, finding humor, thinking interdependently, and remaining open to continuous learning. Which of these habits of mind could serve as a PLO? Which ones would naturally be sub-goals of critical thinking, but would need multiple courses to be fully developed? Candidates include thinking flexibly, thinking about thinking, questioning and posing problems, and applying past knowledge to new situations. Now, some of these may later become CLOs instead, but for now, let's start with a couple of them as PLOs. We can always exchange PLOs with CLOs later, or even change the PLOs and CLOs as needed. Let's try think flexibly and question and pose problems. When you make these choices the first few times, you'll feel like you don't really know what you're doing. That's normal and okay. You can change your choices later in the backward design process if you need to. Don't say you didn't know this was coming. In future videos, we will examine these habits of mind more deeply as we create learning experiences that connect the CLOs to the learning objectives, bridging learning and teaching. To keep this video focused and short, let's now choose a course and some CLOs that align with the critical thinking ILO and our PLOs. How about College Algebra, Math 105 at MSJC? In general, to choose a CLO, which habits of mind could serve as sub-goals of the PLOs think flexibly and question and pose problems, but could be developed in a single course? Since we need the CLOs to align with the course objectives, let's look at the learning objectives and course content in the College Algebra Course Outline of Record, or COR. Hopefully this will provide some inspiration. Once in Curricunet, in the lower left-hand corner, search for the Math 105 course. Choose Math from the drop-down menu and enter 105 for the course number. Click OK. We want the most recent version. Here is one for 2020 through 21. Click on WR to open the course outline. Let's scroll down to the learning objectives and the course content. Anything that jumps out as requiring or would help build thinking flexibly or questioning and posing problems are PLOs, or anything that connects with the non-PLO habits of mind identified earlier, thinking about thinking or applying past knowledge to new situations. Consider the end of Objective 5. Recognize the relationship between exponential and logarithmic functions, both algebraically and graphically. This certainly requires knowing the inverse function theory learned earlier in the course. So applying past knowledge to new situations fits here. We'll choose applying past knowledge to new situations. Our CLO statement will be, the student will apply past knowledge to new situations. As was the case with our PLOs, the first few times you do this, things may not work out as intended. That's okay. If you aren't sure, just pick a habit of mind and continue to move forwards in the backward design process. You can always make changes later, choosing different PLOs and or CLOs, or switching PLOs for CLOs. Just a quick aside, there is way too much information here to assess Objective 5 in the COR using a single row rubric. Whether you want to assess the objective using a rubric in Canvas, or assess it as a learning outcome in Illumin, which we will no longer be doing with our objectives, a single row rubric won't measure all this in a way that identifies gaps in specific knowledge. Just for our part of the objective, you would probably need to recognize the relationship algebraically, separately from recognize the relationship graphically. Or what about Objective 10? Apply functions and other algebraic techniques to model real-world STEM applications. Success here would likely require questioning and posing problems as students identified applicable mathematical models for a given physical phenomenon. Note that the course content associated with Learning Objective 5 is in the course content sections 2.6, 2.7, 4, and all the way down in section 10. And the content for Objective 10 is in course content sections 8.4 and 10.8. For our example, we will focus on Learning Objective 5 and Course Content Section 4. To present a full backward design, let's input the learning objectives and course content we just discussed. To keep the video short, we'll choose the PLO Think Flexibly along with our College Algebra CLO Applying Past Knowledge to New Situations and the associated course objective and course content. While we will discuss them specifically in later videos, let's choose some learning experiences for transfer level critical thinking. Perhaps building on their real-life experience with a car rearview mirror or their bathroom mirror when shaving or applying makeup could begin a multi-week student reflection on the utility and power of reflection and how it delivers foundational knowledge about the graph of the logarithm function. Or we could provide examples, and ask the students for some too, of applying past knowledge to new situations, like the profiling of a criminal or serial killer on their favorite crime show, or a mechanic diagnosing an engine malfunction. Chances are the students themselves can recall an encounter where their prior knowledge of a certain personality type aided them in establishing rapport with a new classmate, say. Again, we could provide a series of student reflection questions, and they could respond via a Canvas discussion forum, so they could see how applying past knowledge to new situations is a skill they are already familiar with and now need to apply by using inverse function theory, their prior knowledge, to learn the logarithm function, a new situation. So moving forward, as the course is taught, inverse function theory is presented, and then applied when the logarithm function is introduced as the inverse function of the exponential function. And then the magic happens. The learning experiences do their expected double duty. First, on the teaching side, they solidify the learning of the course content and hopefully help lead to a passing grade. And on the learning side, they impart the CLO, leading to lifelong learning and realization of the college mission. Incredible! That's all for now. We will continue this example in video 7, taking a closer look at CLO and PLO development and noting some important takeaways. Thanks for watching.